Studios, where you have an officer basically around the neck area.
These two retired Vegas cops, now podcast hosts.
They don't have ID. They can't get into a hotel room.
To get them the help they need, especially if someone even gets arrested. A lot of people don't know how the justice system works.
But I want someone to actually know them and know that it's...
Hey everybody, this is David Colmeyer, the Problem Solver. We are live here in Las Vegas at Sticky Pod Studio here at 250 Rainbow. Today, as the Problem Solver, wanted to talk about a topic called, basically it's family law issues. I don't think we've ever really had a family law attorney or family law kind of topics coming up in general, so I thought this would be a good time to bring someone on that's kind of experienced the family law system. Maybe a little bit of a boring topic for my superfan Steve that's listening, but the bottom line is that it's definitely a topic that's a hot topic. I know that I talk to a lot of people that want family law attorneys, and I'm always referring them to different people, and just it seems like a bad game. So I figured we'd talk about it today. So welcome to the Problem Solver. And today I have Jeffrey Keech. Jeffrey, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you again.
Jeffrey basically has a new podcast called The Deadbeat Chronicles, which happens to be an interesting name, The Deadbeat Chronicles. But I know that he has some interesting experience, being involved in the family law issues and stuff like that. Not everybody wants to talk about this stuff. It's a dry topic in general, and people don't want to share what happened to them in general. But I felt that it would be a good time to bring you on because I don't really talk about family law that much. I know I get a lot of phone calls, people talking about custody, talking about divorce or bad relationships. And I meet a lot of people. I normally refer them to family court or the self-help desk at family court. I refer them to different attorneys. Some are more expensive than others. Some attorneys, communication's not great, but, they're reasonably priced. So, I'm all over the place. I feel bad when someone calls me. So, anyway, I appreciate Jeffrey for coming on today to talk about this topic.
All right. Well, and we might as well...
Somehow we're going to make it exciting. I don't know how we're going to... I was about to say, how do we get Cardi B in this thing with the microphone? But it's not family law related.
Well, it's not exciting, but it fucking sucks. It oftentimes does. And let's talk about a little bit of the catalyst why you kind of reached out a couple days ago and you're like, hey, you kind of shot that round across the bow of family law. I got on Facebook and I wrote, what? Family law attorneys are predators.
I think that's what that enticed me. Like, hey, this is good.
Family law attorneys are predators. Prove me wrong. And you can imagine a lot of people probably jumped on and said, oh yeah, rah, rah, cheer, yeah, oh yeah, sharks this, sharks that. And it was a little bit of a, social experiment. But there was a few people that got in there and defended it. And a really good friend of mine, whose husband is a family law attorney, reached out on, direct message and, said, hey, wait a minute, I don't think you should generalize, which I completely agree with. One of my very best friends here in town is a family law attorney. I totally trust him. But here's the thing. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's just loading up emotions and leveraging those emotions. Family law, undeniably, I think, knows that people are fucked up and they capitalize on it. Now, is it that simple? That was a pretty harsh statement, right? I think that it exists, everything about family law exists in the reactive arena. Well, what about preventative? Well, what are we loading into marriage? Again, that we're here kind of talking about family law, but that's the family law or the family courts, attorneys, child support. That's just one component of a much larger issue of emotional issues, relationship issues, trauma issues, asset issues, narcissist. I don't have an acronym after my last name. I don't have a degree on the wall. And you say my experiences with, family law and all that stuff, it kind of makes me laugh. I've had my ass kicked, in family law, and maybe more so in child support, and maybe more so, much more so outside of the jurisdictions in the parent alienation arena.
It's interesting, just jump in. So at the studio here, Sticky Paws, they have different people that come here all the time. So there's women that talk about women's rights and women's liberation. Then you have men coming in talking about how women should be kind of kowtowing to men type of situation, know their workplace or their home place, or how to take care of a man. And if you're over a certain age, that basically you're like aged out, to go get married. And a lot of women want to basically have their rights, their freedom, and their work, and they don't want to be like told what to do. And there's all kinds of different podcasts here, and people have different philosophies. If you could just move the mic a little bit to you as well.
Right on.
So basically, so it's interesting because I've experienced different people have come on the show, right? Women have been abused, then you have men that have been abused, and there's drugs and alcohol and different things going on. So everyone has different things. I mean, the truth is we're animals. We just basically, it's a concrete jungle, right? And we're no different than if we were in the jungle as, monkeys. It's just that, we think about probably better than monkeys and other animals, but there's all kinds of different issues, right? And then some men will say that, we're just created to have sex with women, and just, it is what it is. Even if they're married, they're not going to be faithful. I mean, there's all different topics that are spoken at the studio. If the walls here, the studio can speak, and tell a story. So it's all over the place. So marriage isn't easy. Relationships aren't easy. And the world is changing. Then you have economic times in general. So you personally, I don't know what you want to share, but I mean, I guess tell us your experience of why, and I guess that's what I saw is that you were somewhat negative, and you have every right to be, that family law attorneys are predators. Tell me about specifically why you think, because you do think that way, and there's nothing wrong with thinking that way. You must have been taken advantage of, you feel taken advantage of by a family law attorney. You don't have to bring up any names.
No, I think
Tell us your experience with the family law attorney.
Well, let's start with that Facebook post. You even kind of said it has a negative connotation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I see it as a little bit more of a social experiment. I see it as a little bit more of let's create a conversation. And again, the family law component. Let's back this way up. Let's take this all the way to the 30,000 foot view right now. Let's talk about the people that we're putting into relationships, the people that we're putting into marriage, the kids that we're turning out into teenagers, the teenagers that we're turning out into 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds on into marriage, right? I mean, victim, rolls into marriage, rolls into divorce, victim. It's just the entire family law industry, I see. Let me rephrase that. That's unfair. The part of the family law industry that is very, very involved with divorce. And that's a mental health issue, I believe.
Okay.
I don't believe, yes, there's division of assets and all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that belongs in the courts. But if we're able to force people, David, we're able to force people to act in certain ways in a divorce situation, right?
I was actually, by the way, I'm looking for your, that's what it was. I was looking for your post. It said, family law attorneys are predators. Prove me wrong. You got 33 comments. That's a lot of comments.
Well, and again,
I was just looking for it. I guess that's what I saw.
And again, I don't necessarily mean to polarize. And that's why I'm glad when you said, hey, would you like to be on the podcast? Yeah, I really want to open this up. I think it should be discussed well before anyone gets married.
But what is it? We could talk about this like really in depth, but what is so wrong? Because you talk about human beings, right? Male and female.
What is so wrong with family law?
There's two different topics. We talk about men and women. We're different people on this planet, right? People have babies. They live together. They get divorced. Like most people, 50, 60% of people divorce. One of the jokes I say is that we'd probably be better off when people get married, they live in separate homes, but they're still married, right? Like whoever came up with the idea of men and women should actually be in the same home.
I understand there's a lot of
someone came up with
things.
that concept.
I understand.
Maybe it was cheaper, like a roommate. But the bottom line is what I'm saying is maybe if men and women stayed in different homes, they were dating relationships is different. Like whoever stated that's the way our society should be, like from Adam and Eve. My question to you is, we could talk about it, but men and women are different. And then there's relationships, there's temptation. So when you get to the point of having issues, like how deep can you go? We could say mental health. We could say there's no self-improvement in schools, right? Like a lot of people think fucked. Like even Superfan Steve, he's an avid fan, Superfan Steve, and he'll say relationships are messed up, women are messed up. Like it is what it is.
It is what it is. So I see. So I see that segment of the family law community that deals with divorce.
Okay.
As how is that not predatory? How is that not a dangling carrot? How is that?
So let's talk,
David. How is that not a dangling carrot for an embittered husband and or a wife?
Okay.
To go out and say, I'm pissed off, let's destroy the other party, let's do everything we can to do it, and that's the vehicle. Like, you'll get on Facebook and you'll say, hey, can someone recommend a plumber? You get maybe 5 to 10. Hey, can someone recommend a maintenance man, or someone recommend a landscaper or whatever? Every time I've seen someone ask for an attorney, But a divorce in particular. Hey, I need a good divorce attorney. And the comments are like, oh, I won with this one. I won with this one. This one represented me well. Why are we loading all of this need for representation into family law and or into
what do you think
divorce?
should be done?
Well, I really think we should be teaching baseline virtue to our elementary school kids, junior high kids, high school kids, and have a completely different society instead of so competitive.
So what do you change?
I'm not super pro guys, super pro women. It just total fairness, total integrity, total personal responsibility across the board.
What do you change? Tell me right now. You go into every school in America. What are you going to change to help the family law structure? I'll share one thing with you as you think of this.
Right.
I think the biggest thing is actually there's two things actually I always
Right.
talk about. That we should learn self-improvement, affirmations, and how to deal with the police. Those are the three things that we should learn in school that we don't. Cop shows up basically, oh, look, it's an officer, But if a cop's knocking on your door, you don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. They don't teach you that aspect. And then self-improvement, right? Like if you're depressed one day and you're upset, like no one talks really about that aspect, which
Right.
over the years, as you get older, right, people get depressed. Even younger teens, right, they get depressed. Suicide rate is increased. Affirmations, like how to look in a mirror and say, you know what, I am beautiful, or I'm amazing, or, that I have the right to, financial freedom, right? Like these are things that are not spoken about schools, but I don't think you're going to change that overnight. And a lot of times there's churches, there's
Oh my
synagogues that do a lot of the church thing, or the synagogue thing, or whatever religion you belong to. There's normally separate schools to help people, be more spiritually. Like even my child, turned 9 years old yesterday, right, Chloe? And I was very impressed actually by this. And then she goes to a private school, and it's a Jewish private school. But what happened? She for the birthday we did the candles, and then basically she decided to go back and ask everybody for, it's called a bracha, basically a prayer, for each person to do like a prayer against another person. It was kind of like just a self-improvement thing. And everyone said, look, they said something back that was very positive. I thought that was really nice. So one of the jokes was that, paying $20,000 for private school for a 9-year-old was worth it for that, that one positive thing. So certain places teach and certain places don't. So I understand. Change a little bit of the curriculum in general, right, in the schools. I cut you off a little bit. What? Tell me.
No, it's
kind of a good
it's a
topic.
very broad conversation. There's the school districts conversation, curriculum conversation. There's general society behavior, and that's, again, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, or whatever, but I mean, the lack of reverence, the declining marriage rate, the declining birth rate, the increasing divorce rate. I mean, where is that going? And taking it out a step further, the percentage of people that are very patriotic to the country has also dropped off the cliff. Also, that's certainly got something to do with it, undeniably. You know what I mean? So let me ask you this: $50 billion industry is the family law industry in North America. Let's say that and that's Canada, Mexico, and America. So let's say America's got 20 billion of that 50. It's probably a lot more, but let's say they got 20 billion of that. Why can't we take 5 billion of that and pull it out of the reactive arena and put it in the preventative, the promotional arena?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's absolutely, but to change
every
that.
every time I ask that to somebody, and it gets down to money, because there's no money in it.
Well, if you ask me,
how do we put money
like
in
in this state, I don't, not that I really follow it, but all this money from marijuana, we got a marijuana dispensary in every corner now. Wasn't that money supposed to go to schools? And then some people say, well, it's going to this.
But I'm talking more
different
directly
funds.
into family law.
No, I'm saying, but money
family
should
law.
go back to the schools to increase programs, right? That money, people said there's no money with the schools. We basically have marijuana in every corner now, so we were supposed to get money for the schools. At least that when it was pitched that way was, hey, we'll make it legal and we'll have money for schools. Like everything always says, like lottery goes to the schools. I mean, do the schools really get it? That's a whole other story. I agree with you, but the problem is, honestly, if you ask me, and most people, they're going to think, good luck trying to get any of this stuff that you want into the school system. More likely in a private school, if they believe in a certain, psychological or self-improvement.
I've definitely understood that
We could
public
be
school
towards the next
districts
20
are
years.
tough walls to break down, right? But I mean, when we talk about prenups, very asset-driven, right?
Okay.
Well, why not about a prenup? For lack of a better term, what about a prenup in principle? What about a prenup in character? And like a family trust, you go get your family trust done.
Okay.
You've got your heirs and then the contingencies. I may be using incorrect language there, but if the heir died, well, whatever.
Okay.
Well, if attorneys are going to be behind it, why not having a shift to promotion and prevention? So if a divorce is unavoidable, then at that time there's not destruction. People were talking about it's almost like end of life planning. My dad right now, he's on his deathbed. My mom and I right now, we're talking about all kinds of moving parts, as you can imagine. And we're having those conversations, and we've had those conversations so that when that event occurs, there's not a bunch of unexpected things, a bunch of bitterness and resentment and all kinds of things. We don't have a large family. It's probably more of a family, not a family tree, a family shrub. But nevertheless, we've had those conversations. And no one's talking about these things. Everyone's, fucking around, death scrolling all day long. I mean, I got a 17-year-old stepson at the house, and God bless him. But it's like pulling him away from that. And I don't mean to... There's so many moving parts to this. It's so complicated. That's an addiction right there.
I agree. I never heard of death scrolling. Is that a new? Travis, have you heard
I
of
might
death
have made it
scrolling?
up. I'm not sure.
I've heard it called doom scrolling.
Because it's not going anywhere?
Just because
scrolling.
like
I probably
you
got it wrong.
just do it forever. Like you're like, oh, just a couple minutes, and then 3 hours later you're like, wow.
Well, what's it's funny. This is the sad part. Is that all of us are addicted now to our phones in the most part.
We're cyborgs, man.
Yeah.
It's right there.
But I will say for me personally, I think it's engaging, it's entertainment, right? Personally for me, since I love marketing, and I'm always looking for the new, right now, I guess the new thing is every week whatever's going on, like Cardi B or something, I'm just looking for the new thing. Last week was Aliens, last week was Barbie, right? Like whatever's going on planet Earth for the week, that's like my new marketing trend, to go with. Somehow I guess I started this 2 years ago, but it actually seems like more things are going on these days that are been more interesting, or maybe I'm just kind of targeting that more. So anyway, I'm always looking for the interesting topic.
But
it's bad.
I want
It's
to
a bad
address
habit.
something respectfully, but I do want to address something in the family law industry. There seems to be an awful lot of ego because
Of lawyers?
Yeah, and just the whole nature of things.
Got it.
Even in your grand opening for the law firm, and I was there talking with a couple of attorneys, and this one lady turned and she said, what do you do? And I said, hey, I just started a podcast called The Deadbeat Chronicles. And she said, what's that about? And I said, it's all about the condition of the American family. And she said, we'll see about that. And I was like, that felt like a little pushback there. It's like I'm not looking to attack the family law industry, but does it need reform? I think so. I mean, for every 100 people that go in, what do you think the percentage is they're walking out, totally happy? And the one that is happy is pissed off and I won, and it's full of aggression.
So one of your comments here says, I've learned not to use an attorney on my third divorce, bro. I'd rather just give that 20 grand to my spouse instead of the attorney that really doesn't do anything for you. I could have represented myself better than the last family attorney I hired to do nothing but settle on my second wife's case. Sounds like Superfan Steve is talking to you here. The other one says, third divorce, you should have probably sought the advice of an attorney before the marriage prenup. It's actually kind of comical reading what you got. I didn't read this.
No, yeah, some of them go, and some of them, again, in fairness, I launched that round across the bow, right? That shot across the bow to say family law attorneys are predators. Pretty blanket statement. So I knew I was going to get some pushback or whatever. But I mean, let me share two stories that are related to actual family court judges, things that I've experienced, gotten beaten up a little bit. So several years ago, there was a judge that was disbarred, Del Vecchio. He was my family court judge. Not that his getting disbarred had anything to do with me, not at all, or the way, whatever. But obviously not the most highest of characters if he's gotten disbarred or removed from the bench, whatever it's called. So there was an event where my ex-wife had called me or filed a hearing, and I went in unrepresented. But a very, very good friend of mine who was an attorney just came for a little support and sat in the back behind the, in the audience, whatever you call it. In about the first 2.5 minutes, my ex's attorney said whatever he said. The judge said whatever he said. I, not knowing what to say, said whatever I said and had handcuffs on. And my attorney friend from behind the, the bench or whatever, stood up, started yelling at the divorce attorney and the judge, and using terms like writ, there's going to be a writ this and a writ that. And within about 30 seconds, they had a little conversation and was asking her to sit down. She literally said, no, you sit down. And she was at the time within the Clark County Bar Association, some director or something. and they knew exactly who she was. And when we walked out of that courtroom, and this would have been 2007, by the way. So as we're walking out of the courtroom, right down that second story of family court, she's yelling at me, "Don't you realize what the F just happened?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And she's like, "Your civil rights were absolutely removed." So that's one story. Another story is, let me shift gears a little bit to something more positive. I would really genuinely like, you asked on our live podcast we did for the Deadbeat Chronicles, you said, where do you want to be 51 weeks from now? And I was like, I'd really like to have an acquaintance or a conversation with all of the family court judges, respectfully, genuinely, and I still would. And the real most important question is why? Most basic question, why? So that back in 2020, there was a female, a gal running for female court, female court, family court, and she had worked in a real estate office when she was very, very young, years ago, in 1998, long time ago, in my past lives in real estate. I wanted to reach out, make contact with her and ask her, why are you running for judge? Why do you want to do it? Is there a passion? What's your reasoning? So it took a good 2.5 months for me to reach her on Facebook and cell phone and all that stuff. And I know her mom, pretty well. So she was actually trying to, make the connection. When I finally did make the connection, it was a very evasive conversation, incredibly evasive, very egotistical, very challenged. And she did not have an answer to why. Not at all, not even close. And I tried to disarm and have the conversation of, I'm trying to ask you why and find out what your passion might be, what your opinion of the courts may be, what your opinion of the system may be, all of those conversations, and got nowhere really quick. It was like I was basically having an argument in the courtroom with an attorney. And I think the U.S. government is separated from we the people quite a bit. I think the family courts are separated from what's really going on with families, and what the best way to do to resolve is well more proactive than the reactive nature that the courts are in. So when I say that family law attorneys are predators, the whole nature of the system is predatory.
So, here I read another message. It says they create lawyers, right? Family law attorneys. It says they create money wheels that they spin using your emotional commitment to your children's lives. Wheels, number one, psych evaluations, anger management, family court services, parenting classes, domestic situational awareness, or better known as the court monitoring your whole life. Or if someone's going to hear, and random drug test. So, look, it's interesting when did we do your the Chronicles? When did we do it? It was 4 months ago?
4 months ago, yeah.
Actually, as you're saying, I think that if you want to make a video with your podcast to talk about, hey, this is to the judges, like if you basically were straight at the camera and say, hey, judge, this is my experience, and talk about it, and then make a YouTube video and basically send it to different judges. These days, the judges are on Facebook. You can email all the judges and say, hey, can you, judge, look at this and just express your opinion nicely with composure.
Sure.
And then maybe you can make some changes with those court people, but with the judges. But I will say one thing, and look, if two people are civil, you could do mediation and say, hey, let's work things out. But the problem is once it becomes to children and assets and money, right? People fight about those things, and that's where they wind up in court. And I do agree that it does cost money. Look, any of these days, if you get arrested for DUI or you need a family attorney, it's minimum $2,500 to $5,000 for any attorney just walking in the door because they're working in general. Now, would you say that some attorneys are not honest and ethical in regards to like how much time, to the value of money, and so on? Look, just like anyone in any type of field of work, like a dentist, right? You go to the dentist, you open your mouth, you don't really know what's wrong with your teeth. You're hoping the dentist is going to be honest. So you look up reviews these days and say, hey, hopefully this dentist is honest and reliable. When I went to a dentist once, where it was kind of free when I was a New York City police officer, the guy went in and says, you got a cavity here, you got a cavity. I'm like, well, my teeth were jacked up. I remember thinking this guy's trying to make money. How do you know that? Same thing with an attorney. What are they really doing behind closed doors? That's why you want to ask for an itemized list of what you're doing. Now, you can go for mediation, which is free. A lot of people don't know, but Clark County Neighborhood Justice Center is free for mediation. You can go with a loved one and do it for free, but it becomes harder when maybe it's the kid situation. But you can agree on things in regards to mediation.
Well, let's. When you say it's harder when it's the kid situation, I only think it's harder when it's an ego situation.
The ego, what? From the lawyer or from the family, the two people that are...
mom and dad, the divorcees.
Yeah, but like you can't control that. I mean, look, first of all, men and women are totally different people.
Why not? Why not?
Why can't you control it?
In
How?
theory, well, people get divorced. They go through divorce, and the courts and family courts. The courts and child support and other entities absolutely control people to do certain things. Moms and dads, men and women.
Then don't you can go to mediation or just work things out. If you're two civil people, just work it out.
Exactly. So why is society again? I'm not
because
I'm not
when it comes
coming
down
on family law like it's family
if you
law's fault, but
were-
it is a dangling
so
carrot.
if you were
just like
unfaithful-
subprime lending back in 2001, 2004, 2006, whenever it was. That dangling carrot. If someone says, "Hey, here's a mirror, breathe on it." Oh, you're alive? Here's $500,000. You're a stripper? I mean, we know the stories from back then. I see it as a dangling carrot. It's an available vehicle for embittered people to launch to. And it's almost like an American institution now. There has got to be a better way. And it's got to be a preventative way. Again, out of that 20 billion, let's take 5 billion just as an example. And I'm no expert, but I'm hoping this conversation will get some intellect that's well higher than mine talking about this. And maybe folks in the know, folks in the expertise. Again, I think the conversation should be held a lot more. And I think the conversation should be had, these topics and examples of some really painful shit and some really wonderful things at the same time about marriage, of course. But, I mean, discuss realities well before. We're just loading people into marriage. We're just loading victims into marriage over and over and over. So how can the family law industry in that divorce arena and separation and assets, all these things, how can that not be predatory in that context?
It is. I mean, look, each topic is like subprime mortgages. Well, it's interesting. I knew someone that did subprime mortgages, but at the time, if you were smart and you were educated, even if the interest rate was higher, if you were smart and educated to buy a property and you leverage it, you could have made a few $100,000. Who cares what the interest rate is at the time? Even though you're paying more money.
And if you were smart before it adjusted.
But if you're educated about it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I met tons of people when I was a cop.
Yeah,
and
if
they
you
said they're
strategize.
upside down in their home and these different loan programs. And, you have to become educated on the process.
Yeah.
But I think when it becomes man and woman and you have children, again, the children and then money or assets comes into play. And then you're upset about the other person. That's why you're going through a divorce. And
I
then,
still think it's a mental health issue, though. So what if
even if it's mental health, what do you do?
prenup? What if there was a prenup?
That's why there's
principles
therapy
and
for
character.
people.
Well, I know, but
Why don't you go to therapy?
why isn't it forced? And I know
You
that
should
kind of
force
sounds.
therapy?
I know that kind of sounds ridiculous. Like force, how do you do that? But again, if we're forcing people in the reactive arena, and there are
technically
asset
you could say
prenups,
that if you want to get a
why
divorce,
couldn't
we
there
want
be
you to
some
go
sort of
for therapy.
a character and principles? What are your principles?
Mm-hmm.
Write those down. Agree to those. When the shit hits the fan, when the pressures happen, if the relationship can't stay together, let's stay respectful. Let's break up. And all the therapy before that, all the vehicles before that. Way too many people are going to divorce. Way too many people are competitive. Way too many people are narcissists.
You know
and
what's
all these
interesting?
things. So again, I see it as a family. And you say, how do you ultimately keep it out of the courts? Maybe you don't, but maybe there is a mental health expert, psychiatrist, counselor, whatever it may be, that is the one that's absolutely determining whether both and or one of the other couples is standing by those principles and characterizations that they jotted down in that agreement. And I know I'm probably murdering this for legal terms, but I hope I'm getting my point across there. Why isn't that a proactive example? And I'm open to 1,000 more. When I say force, I almost want to say that so people will say, what the fuck force? Dude, that's the last thing we want. And I totally agree. But I don't understand how someone can say we're not forcing people to act a certain way after divorce, during and after
By the
divorce.
way, not that I'm some major religious person because I keep bringing up being Jewish or my kid, whatever. It's kind of interesting you saying certain things. There's something in the Jewish religion. It's called a ketubah. And I'm going to read it what it says here. Actually, I signed this ketubah, when I got married.
Right.
But back in the day, who knows how many hundred years ago, it meant something. It says a ketubah is a Jewish marriage contract. It is considered an integral part of a traditional Jewish marriage and outlines the rights and responsibilities of the groom in relation to the bride. In modern practice, the ketubah has no agreed monetary value and is seldom enforced by civil courts except in Israel. And what it says for history-wise, it says in Babylonian Talmud, the ketubah was enacted by this person that it might be a light thing for a man to so that it might not be a light thing for a man to divorce his wife. The enactment provides for a man's wife to receive a fixed sum of money usually accruing from his property in the event of his divorcing of her and predeceasing her. Suggests a different reason. The Torah has commanded us to perform an act before taking a wife, a matter that is intended to show that they are a couple united in wedlock before he lies down with her carnally, and that he come up upon as one that would do a, it says harlot, and I've heard this, where there is no other act that precedes what goes on between them. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. But I guess in ancient times, the only person that allowed the divorce was this rabbi, kind of like a priest. And it says the rabbis in ancient times insisted on the marriage couple entering into a ketubah as protection for the wife. And it acts as a replacement of the biblical. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. But basically, it says here in the event of either by death or the husband's divorce. But supposedly, you'd have to go to the rabbi and say, like, look, I want to get a divorce, and they had to decide whether or not you should get it or not. It was up to the rabbi.
I've been asked before: is Deadbeat Chronicles, is it church based? You know, because a lot of the principles that are
And what do you
talked about.
say to people that?
It's not. I don't myself attend a church. I like to tell people I joined the army to go fight for people that couldn't worship and do whatever the heck they wanted to do. You know what I mean? I'm not. I was baptized Lutheran, but not. Again, not to be long-winded here. I don't go to church every Sunday. I support anyone else that would want to. I like to think that I'm trying to work on my own morals and principles and all that stuff. And I follow Stoicism. Mm-hmm. I follow a lot of that messaging and a lot of the teachings, writings, books, and things like that. So that kind of keeps me going through a lot of frustrations.
Got it.
Look, let's be honest. I do have my own personal feelings. I've got an estranged relationship with a couple of my kids. Great relationship with a couple of my stepkids. I've got a past relationship that I've even got notes. I wrote it down so I specifically wouldn't forget these words. I've got a previous relationship full of disrespect, dishonesty, narcissism, pain, and trauma, all the way around. I've got another relationship, 10 and a half, 11 years, full of love, acceptance, growth, honesty, principle, and integrity. So one is full of fear and estrangement, and the other, trust and commitment. So I think it's got a lot to do with mom. I really do. I think it's got a lot to do with dad in a lot of cases. I don't mean to generalize, but in my two examples, I think that mom has been tremendously influential in whatever direction they want to go, good, bad, or whatever. They are very influential, and I think I've seen, in equal, I've got to be fair here, I've seen some real narcissistic dads out there that have, done some things and strategized and cheated. And I don't mean by cheated, adultery-wise. I mean just cheating with honesty and integrity. And just, again, I do think that a part of I think a part of the family law industry that is dealing with divorce, I do think it has a very aggressive, egotistical, destructive nature to it. And I think that's why a lot of people drag someone through it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, bottom line is, I think we can go back and forth with this. Look, it's great if you can get into the school district, if you had a book or something. There was one woman here that talked about a book about suicide and death, with young children.
Yeah.
And we talked about getting the books into the schools and having counselors read them. But if you had a book or you wrote something that was positive, then you get it to all the teachers. Maybe they read the book and they start basically implementing those things. I think it's just a very difficult situation. I mean, I think that it's something that you could work on, but the question is, how much time in the day do you have to make some change? It's the same thing. Like right now, I'll be honest with you, I'm more concerned about crime these days, like on the rise, for our safety, because these days, like in California, right, it's crazy. Like people breaking into different shops and just stealing.
So how do we fix that? How do we fix that with the kids? Because it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, so we have to address the current problem. And what kind of
it's look, you got your kids, they're a little bit younger than mine.
You
all go back to school and education. If you talk about family, right, that basically the unity of a family.
And you say a book, like a curriculum, a book into schools.
I mean, they could teach about it just like sex anatomy or something like that.
It's so much more than that. The reason I started
books we call family, right?
The reason I started Deadbeat Chronicles, it's a labor of love. It absolutely is. So when I think about you, is it a good idea? Get books and curriculum in there. It's about the conversation, though. It's about the conversation, getting the conversation out there. What's distracting it? Entertainment, social media, news, politics. Politics is ridiculous. I mean, my God.
We have some. I keep mentioning Superfan Steve. He happens to be my cousin.
Super fan Steve.
That's what he calls. So he calls me Slim because
Slim?
I'm very slimming.
Yes.
So he says, Slim, what is this guy going to solve? That's what he says. What are you going to solve? How are you going to solve it?
I don't know. That's a great question. I have no idea.
Well-
but I know it ain't right. I know that if this shit was in my house, I know that my kids or whoever walked
it.
in with this kind of insolence and all this just bullshit, lying, dishonesty, all these things, all this bitterness. And what am I going to solve? I'll tell you what, I would love to see a bunch of comments from a bunch of people that see the show either live here and or later watching the videos and everything. Let's open up the conversation. How do we solve it? Let's talk about it more. What am I going to solve? A bunch of bitter, resentful, parent alienated. Are you calling him right now?
I don't think he'll pick up. He doesn't have the balls to pick up.
I didn't mean to ramble through that
That's it.
last thing. There's just a lot of trauma. What am I looking to solve?
Let's see.
Trauma.
He gets scared when I call him.
Generational trauma. That's what I'm looking to solve.
Generational trauma?
Generational trauma. Absolutely. It just keeps going and going
He's
and
not
going.
picking up. See, he's scared. He goes, "This is all a waste of time." He's going to solve nothing. See, he's not picking up.
Well,
You see people hide.
Well,
Like, he could have a
I'll tell you
voice,
what.
right?
No, I'll tell you what. If I'm wasting my time, then maybe it's time to go to fucking war. Because
Go to where?
War. Because if
With who?
someone who
Who do you want to go to war?
I guess pretty much anything that's tearing away
Oh,
at the
he's calling
family,
back. Hold on, listen.
anything that's being disrespectful to the family.
Is this Superfan Steve?
Where is he? Is he local or is he back in New York?
Superfan Steve, you're on the air.
What's up, Slim?
What do you think about Jeff? Jeff can hear you. You're on the air.
What's up? What's up, Steve?
Nobody's solving anything, Slim.
Listen, tell him what you think about family law.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with him, but why not?
You're just talking all bullshit and nothing's getting accomplished.
Nothing's going to get accomplished?
Why not?
Nothing's going to get accomplished. You're just talking bullshit in circles.
Well, but why not? Help me get out of the circle then.
Say that again?
Help me get out of the circle then. If I'm just running in circles, I'm open-minded. I'm no genius. I just know that it's a fucked up system. So I'm open ears. How do we fix it? Or do we not? Or you just say we just let it perpetuate and everyone's fucked up and we just let it perpetuate?
Exactly. Because there's no real solution.
Then generational trauma just continues and continues, right?
That's life, though.
This is a perfect topic for you because you're very positive. What do you think about?
Where's Dr. G?
This would be a good situation, Dr. G. That she's dealing with some type of some issue at her home. She would be good for this topic. So listen, what do you think about family law attorneys?
Family law attorneys?
Yeah.
All the attorneys suck. I told you that. I mean, what do you mean what I feel about it? It doesn't matter what they do or what they get. Like, you're going to get fucked either way.
Like for a divorce, like a family law attorney.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A perfect example, like when I got divorced, the judge, the lawyers, they make the contract, the decree, they do everything. And then in the end, it all means nothing. They can fuck you at any time. Like, they can tell you got to pay this money, do this, do that. And then everything that you agreed on, they just go back and change it.
So why don't you go to mediation? Why don't you do something? Couldn't you just work it out with the girl?
Yeah, we did everything like that. But the point is that no matter what you do with any fucking lawyer or any judge, anything, it's just a game. Everybody gets money. The lawyer gets money. Everybody gets everything. And the two people that are either getting divorced or the kids or whoever, everybody's just getting fucked. There's no solution to this.
But there's got to be a solution. What you're saying, I totally agree with. But to just also say along with that there's no solution just sounds insane. Absolutely insane.
If there was a solution, the shit would be fixed already. It's like hundreds and hundreds of years of this. It's like the lawyer just says, "Here, you go, give me 5,000, give me 10,000, do this, go to court, go to mediation, do all kinds of shit." And again, in the end, nobody fucking cares.
It makes us all sound like shit. And I totally agree with you. It makes us all sound like shit. It makes us all sound like we don't have principles. Not at all. That we don't think about them, don't write them down, don't talk about them with our families at all. We're just going to let this destructive direction, path, whatever, just keep festering. And it has, since right after World War II, when property values started getting up, then family attorneys started appearing. Didn't exist before then.
Right. So
It's all money based, material based,
like
and now it's revolving into this perpetual thing that can't be solved. I mean,
What about mandating therapy? Like they say, all right, before you get a divorce, you got to do 8 weeks of therapy and then come back.
again, more money to the therapist than the people fucked up in the end.
give it to the therapist. That's preventative. Take all this talent that we have in family law, all of this intellect, all of this intelligence, all of this real talent in family law, very intelligent people, and take them from a reactive arena that's I still say naturally predatory, and move them in a preventative therapy and even legal. I don't know how to do it or whatever, and make it just as lucrative. I don't know how to do that, but I'm not saying kill. I'm just saying reform. You know, I mean, it's just there's a lot of bitter hearts out there, and out of every 10 people you have walking out of the family court building, I don't know what the number is, but it's got to be, I don't know, 70, 80% are absolutely not happy.
Well, that's my point. At the end of the day, nobody's happy, and the lawyer just gets the money, and everybody's fucked in the end. So, I mean, like I said, I don't think there's a solution to it, and I don't think there'll ever be a solution to it. You know, I mean, people could talk about it all day and night, but it's like I said, it's just going around and round in circles. It's like if people bitch about anything, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like certain things you just can't fucking change or fix.
Jeff, how much money did you spend, if you don't mind me asking, about on a family law training for whatever the situation was?
It was a long time ago. It was back in 2004, 2005, and $6,000 by the time it was done. You know, $6,000, I think, somewhere.
Superfan Steve, what about you? How much?
Well, maybe like 6,000 to 8,000.
I mean, the bottom line is these days, and a lot of people don't know this, right? Clark County, you know, I said neighborhood justice does mediation for free. If it comes to custody and, you know, stuff like that, that's a little bit different.
My case, I didn't pay nothing in the beginning. Like I mean, I paid maybe like $1,000 for the lawyer. I got everything set up. I got the decree. I didn't even have to go to court. I did everything like with the 2 lawyers and the mediation. Everything was quick, like $1,000 is done. Made the contract, had everything in fucking writing, and she was supposed to pay money for like 36 months and supposed to be shit with the house and everything. And after 18 months, she broke the fucking decree. She went back on everything. She pleaded like fucking insanity. She sent me a thing that she wasn't going to pay. She put the house into bankruptcy. She did a million different things. And that's when I either could have walked away and just said, fuck it, and take the loss on the money. But for spite, I was like, fuck it. If she doesn't want to pay me the money, then I'll make her pay the money through the fucking lawyer. That she would have been cheaper just to pay me the money, and we would have split the house. But then I had her quit claim deed the house, and I still made out in the end, but it's still fucked up. Like I said, I mean, why have a contract and have all these things with the lawyers and the courts, and people pay child support and do it, and then people can just turn around and say, fuck it. It's like when a lawyer or when the judge says to the people, you won $10 million, and it's the biggest, you know, money that they ever paid out. And then tomorrow the company goes bankrupt and you get nothing. So what? You won the fucking case, but there's always a fucking loophole that everybody can get out of. The same thing with the car accident, same thing with anything. The judge could say pay, everybody could say do everything, and they say you won, and in the end, people aren't going to honor the shit or do it anyway. So, I mean, the whole system's fucked.
I still say a solution, maybe not the, but a solution would be that principles and character choices.
All right, so
agreement
bottom line is
beforehand.
this. The only thing I can say is this. There's people may not know, but there's 211, which is United Way, which is calling 211.
Slim, what happened to 211? You'd still be on hold from fucking last week.
211's call. Let's say
Call 211 again now. See how many hours you wait.
let's call 211. That's good. I'm gonna go when we hang up. I'm gonna call 211 to see. But anyway,
Put them on freeway.
let me try here. Listen, tell me you want to get a divorce and you want to see who can help. Let's see.
What are you typing on?
So 211 basically is United Way, where you can ask for referral services. Let's see.
Thank you. Para español, oprima dos. Please note your call may be monitored or recorded. If you know your party's extension, please dial it now. All other callers, press 1. Please remain on the line, and one of our call specialists will be with you as soon as possible.
So you can call 211
Our calls
for
are
referral
answered
services,
before they are received.
and you can say, "Look, I'm thinking about going for therapy, or I lost my driver's license. I need help. I'm homeless. I need shelter," and they'll refer you to certain places. It'd be interesting to see what they say. I think last time I tried calling, it was a long wait. Maybe during the day it's better, or maybe it's gone downhill.
So you're asking them
211.
for divorce services?
I'll just say, "Look, I'm thinking about getting a divorce. Maybe I need to talk with someone. Who do you refer me to? Like a nonprofit?" They may say Catholic Charities. They may say somebody. But a lot of people don't know about
Jewish. How you got to go to Catholic Charities? if you're
Jewish charities. Well, Catholic Charities will accept anybody. They're not looking for religion. It's just a nonprofit. Superfan Steve, you still there?
Superfan Steve's.
What do you think about Superfan Steve?
No, I love him to death, and he's not wrong. Everything that he's saying sounds like a challenge. Get him back on the phone. Is he still on the phone? It honestly sounds like a challenge. You know what I mean? Why shouldn't America, the whole country, take that like a challenge? Like, no, can't do it. Nope, can't overcome breakups and narcissism and the courts and breakups and anger and
We're still on
resentment.
hold
Can't
there.
overcome it.
Yeah, go ahead. You got too much music. Can you hear me?
I got some people texting me right now.
Okay, anyway, we'll hang up here in 1 second. We don't have time to wait for this stuff. Let's see. Hold on a second.
Aaron Ellicus just
Oh, he's on it.
shot
I
me a
had him
text.
up here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, text. Why is men always get screwed over during divorces?
Who said that? Who said that?
Aaron said that. Right, here's Superfan Steve. Hold on. Okay, we don't have time for that. You there?
Slim, what happened to your 211 solving the problem?
Oh, God. I love your positivity. Okay, listen. Moving on. 211. Yeah.
Slim, your 211's a fucking joke, and 311's a bigger joke. You could be dead waiting for both of them.
All right, listen. This is an exciting topic. Superfan Steve, I appreciate
Give me the bottom line, Slim.
The bottom line is if you need help, you go. I would refer you to a family law attorney.
Yeah?
The bottom line is this. People can go for therapy. You try to push therapy for people, just a way of communicating to talk, to try to reconcile any issues that you have. There's 3 things that people fight about in a relationship. Superfan Steve, for $100, what are the main 3 things?
Did people fight
Money,
about?
sex, and kids.
Money, sex, and kids. $100 winner on the Problem Solver Show. Congratulations to our Superfan Steve. We need the sound effects, Travis.
Ding, 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 ding.
We have a winner, Super Steve. So those are 3 things. So therapy is out there. 211 if you don't have any money, they'll refer you someone. Yes, you may have to wait on hold for 45 minutes, but at least it's a free service they refer you to. Neighborhood
45
Justice
minutes if you're lucky.
Neighborhood Justice Center basically is the mediation that's free. It doesn't cost any money. And then Family Court has a help desk. Yes, lawyers cost money.
Oh, yeah.
Not the best decision whatsoever if you really need one. That's always it. Try to work things out in general. I mean, it is what it is.
Way
If you have a master plan,
Slim,
yeah.
Slim, are you going to go on his podcast next time?
He did the first one.
I did the first one. Listen, I'm the celebrity. What do you call that? The
Celebrity guest
the
host?
original. I'm the OG of the Deadbeat Chronicles.
Right.
I was even wearing a white Deadbeat shirt.
Yeah.
You should go on a show since you have so much to say. But listen,
Were you wearing a deadbeat shirt or a
No, I wasn't.
problem solver
Wasn't.
shirt?
he's giving out free white Deadbeat shirts.
I guess I
and
got to make them now.
And the logo, it says Deadbeat Chronicles, so we'll get you one. What size are you? Extra small?
Yes, Slim, I'm not fat like you.
So I'm actually a medium.
Bullshit. You haven't been a medium in like 30 years.
Actually, I don't think I've ever had a medium.
Are you a schmedium?
Since I know you. Know you. Okay, listen, we're wrapping up a little bit. The bottom line is this. Deadbeat Chronicles it's a podcast. You can go to Deadbeat Chronicles LV. Superfan Steve will watch it religiously. And you can work with Superfan Steve to work on changing our society for the better in the family law arena.
I know Steve is in. Everything that he said tonight, he's in.
Steve, you in?
He's in. He's signed in. He's enrolled into this entire mission. I really appreciate it, Steve. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow morning? Because I know you are absolutely
This guy's got
shoulder
a lot-
to shoulder with me, ready to attack the $50 billion
Slim, you're
annual
gonna
family
have to-
law
I'm gonna
industry.
have to co-host this.
The bottom line is if you need a good family law attorney, I would have to recommend 1-844 attorneys.
Yeah, right. I knew.
Steve, you got that 1-844 attorneys, which is toll free nationwide. If you want a family law attorney, that's good.
So let me ask this:
Are they gonna-
how
are
many?
they gonna-
How many? how much percentage of the family law industry, judges, attorneys, clerks, whatever it may be, are in the proactive promotional arena, keeping marriages together, keeping them together, keeping relationships together, whatever that may, whatever those creativities
I think once
are.
they go to a family law attorney, it's kind of over. The family attorney could say, hey, go through mediation, try to work things out.
Well, why is it called family law then? Why family law? It might as well be called family destruction. If it's family law, why shouldn't it be equally trying to keep families togetger?
We have to change. So basically, you need to educate. You need to talk to family. You need to go
Look,
to
they're
this.
just blown. It's just like smoke and mirrors. They just say that, but they just want the fucking case.
They want the case. They want the money. Like a dentist, right? Have you ever gone to a dentist and the guy says, "Oh, you don't have a cavity. You're good. You're good. Have a good day." He says, "Oh, I think I see something on the side. It's a little light brown. We should take that out and fill it, right?" If you go to a mechanic, what does he say? Listen, you should change this part.
Right, but the dentists, like there's certain dentists that are fucking legit, and the thing, but most of the lawyers, they're not. It's just because it's just money, money, money all day.
It's a problem.
So it's the system that's predatory, or it's the system that's lucrative. It's the system. It's not the individual attorney.
Actually, in Vegas, if you go to court or you go to the jail, it's just like a revolving door. They should just all take the money and don't waste time. I mean, you got people here in Vegas that kill people and they do 60 days in jail for murder. So, I mean, it's a completely fucked system.
It's all about money? Is it just that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a money game. I mean, how can you kill somebody and do only 60 days in jail? I mean, the lawyer's good, the judge, everybody gets money. I mean, it's all a fucking money game.
All right, so listen. We're not going to change anything overnight. The biggest thing is I want to have Jeff talk about his mission, talk a little bit about family law. It's a tough situation.
I want Dr. G back on the show.
She's come back. You should give her a call. She's delayed. I just told her to stay home and continue to rest her.
So if Dr. G were here on the show right now, would she be? What would she say?
Superfan Steve, what would Dr. G say if she was here?
What would her input be?
She's kind of positive. I mean, she would think or say that, try to fix shit and do shit, but I mean, she's got to agree too that the system's fucked up. I mean, even the lawyers, everybody knows that it's fucked up. They just pretend like it's everything's good and that everybody's trying to help everybody, but nobody's trying to help nobody.
Well, it moves so fast. It's moving. It's moving fast. It's full of debt. No one can keep up with it. Everyone wants to just get out of it and get past it and then not readdress it to fix it. So I'm not sure why I decided to bitch and moan about it, but let's bitch and moan about it.
What would it benefit them if they fixed it?
That's what I say. I don't know how to make it lucrative on the proactive side, on the preventative promotional side. Let's figure out a way.
All right,
Me and
listen.
you.
So Steve,
Steve and I meet and figure this out.
Steve, the only thing that is helpful today, if you need a family law attorney, what's the phone number? That's only get out of it. If you want a good attorney, you call me. The problem solver will connect you to several attorneys to find you the best attorney. That's how we solve the problem. Now, I always refer people to therapy, which I do know several therapists. Plus, we also have some self coaches that are very prominent at Sticky Pie Studios. So we got Sally. What do we have? Sally Allen. Mm-hmm. We have Dr. Leslie. Mm-hmm. We have all these great people that are willing to do self-coaching. We have men, we have women here at the studio. It's like a vending machine to help you at Sticky Pie Studio.
Therapy.
Actually, the truth
machine?
is, if you have a problem with life, you should just come to the studio, and then they have people here that will help you. Slim,
small fee.
For a small fee.
We'll bring Steve and
They
I.
actually do.
We're shoulder to shoulder,
Steve,
ready to absolutely go to battle against any kind of
They actually say that when
challenge
women
against the success of the American family.
They actually say when women have problems, they go to therapy, but men start podcasts. And
that's actually true.
And this is why I'm here. This is my therapy. And Jeff has helped me today to become a better man, to realize I shouldn't get a divorce because it costs me a shitload of money. I'm not going to see my kids, and I'm going to be fucked.
My wife sent me a meme, something about.
And it costs me a lot of money.
No. There's a video from I can't remember the guy's name. He's a comedian. Babe, text me right now. I think she's watching the show.
So
live.
listen, we're about to go into overtime. It's $250 a minute at Sticky Pie Studio. It's very expensive here.
Steve's got it. Steve's got it covered.
We're paying for Travis's new wardrobe here. So
got new shoes.
He's got new shoes. This guy's got women bringing food over here. We have to go. This is not an all day. This is not a 24-hour marathon like some people do.
24/7 like John's.
Yeah, John.
24-hour podcast?
That's the
Marathon.
Action Junkies. This is the wrong show. It's only Superfan Steve loves the 24 hours.
I bet.
So listen, the best thing about this show is Superfan Steve joined us. We appreciate you stopping by virtually, audio wise. We appreciate your time. We know you're very busy in your schedule.
Your support is amazing.
What happened to zooming in?
You should have zoomed
You
in
zoomed
next
in.
time.
Come on.
I always tell you the Zoom door is always open.
Travis didn't send me the link today.
I didn't send the link. I'm sorry. I didn't send the link.
Travis is not the best, today. Anyway, so Superfan Steve, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much for visiting us today virtually, all the way from Henderson.
Is Steve married?
He's happily married.
Happily married. Prenup?
Look, all right, Superfan Steve, I'll call you. He wants to know if you're happily married.
No, I've been divorced for 10 years now.
And are you better married or divorced?
It was good when I was married. It's good either way. The only problem is the fucking lawyers.
She never did like me, though. I don't know why. It was very nice to her.
Flynn, a lot of people
Alexandra, if you're out there, we miss you. We love you.
Flynn, she might be dead.
Hey, she could be dead, too. We got to find out. All right, Superfan Steve, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, so anyway, there's not much more to talk about this. I don't want to bore everyone to death. The bottom line is this. If anybody wants to join or speak to you, Jeff, Deadbeat Chronicles LV on Instagram, they can private message you, DM, PM, whatever the M's are. Long story short.
Yeah, just hit up
it's up on the
email.
screen,
Just
the Deadbeat Chronicles.
The Deadbeat
the bottom line is
Chronicles
this.
at Gmail.
I think that you have a
Yeah.
major, major mission ahead of you. Wish you the best of luck with it. I think it's very difficult. I thought I have a lot of problems. Trying to solve this problem is a hard problem. The only thing I can share is
It's not my problem.
if someone
It's
is
everyone's
listening-
problem.
If someone's listening, I can refer you to different people to help in different ways.
Yep.
And I've been being serious. At the studio here, there's several different people that do coaching. There's self-improvement that's out there. I'd be more than happy to speak to anybody, could refer them to you. If they need an attorney that I can refer them to. Doesn't mean they have to use the attorney. Sometimes they give me free advice. And maybe some good attorneys will refer you back to therapy or treatment.
I would encourage
or a rabbi
anybody,
or a priest or
I would
something that can help you
encourage
out.
anyone listening to the show right now to follow up with you, and because I've been here, to the studio a couple of times, and I've seen a lot of the different hosts and everything and the shows, and
No, it's great.
it is no joke.
It's different
they're-
people that have different experiences and they want to share and
they're
they wanna
talking
give
about
back.
life.
Yeah.
They're opening up. They're being vulnerable, right, and sharing things and giving some wholesome advice. You know what I mean? And opening up and maybe I'm no expert. I'm sure maybe some of the things I've said here, maybe someone's like, that guy is full of shit. Hopefully, most of the stuff I've said, most by far people are resonating with.
By the way, Aaron said I know a cheaper podcast studio if he wants to. Guys try to plug on social media. Listen,
Aaron needs to buy us lunch.
There's quality over here. There's quality service here, I have to say that so I don't get evicted here. So anyway, long story short, Jeff, I appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate
for having
you
me.
sharing some, your opinion, honesty in general. Hard topic whatsoever. Again, the problemsolver.vegas is a app, and basically you can call me 702-999-1111. I love talking to people, helping people. People always laugh. People think that, like with me, like I'm all about money or I'm trying to make money. I mean, the truth of the matter is I do this show to help people. I really do enjoy referring them to the right places and talking to people. And I talk to people all the time. And honestly, I feel, because I was a cop for 17 years, a lot of background experience. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving specific legal advice, but I'm kind of saying, hey, you can do this, you can do that. There's a lot of options. People are like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know mediation's free, or you're right, I should talk to the person. So, I mean, I literally
If people put their ego aside,
So-
there's solutions all around.
Absolutely.
There's abundance all around.
So if anyone wants to go to the problemsolve.vegas, you got a problem, you want to talk to me, 702-999-1111. Jeff, I appreciate your time. Deadbeat Chronicles LV. I appreciate your time as usual and sharing. It's not an easy topic. I know you've been through a lot, and I only could wish, for the future, things are positive for you and your family. Sometimes I think that things happen for a reason. Myself, I'm not perfect. My life is not perfect. We all try to live the best that we can. The truth is, knock on wood, that we're alive, we're breathing. Planet Earth's here, and some aliens are now visiting us from different places. Maybe the aliens have the way of having solutions to our future.
You're killing me now, but I mean,
They're landing. They're landing. Everyone's got videos now. Everyone's,
alien
who
divorce
knows?
court.
You never know. You never know. Maybe they're here to help us for family law. Maybe they can.
Could be.
We can pray for them. So
Could
anyway,
be.
Jeff,
And
thanks.
just remember, the Deadbeat Chronicles is definitely not about just my story,
Got it.
if anything. And you're saying, Jeff, hope situations and all these things, and you've been through a lot. A lot of people have been through a lot. This is not about me. A lot of people have been through a hell of a lot more than me, and all that stuff. And then the saying you just got to hold dear is, why are families screwed up? Mm-hmm. Because there's people in them. So That's it.
All right. So I'm Dave Coleman, the Problem Solver. Thanks so much for joining us every single week on Thursday. We have great people like Jeff joining, sharing their experience, talking about how to solve problems in general. Whether you think we solved the problem or not, you're not always going to solve a specific problem. But again, we are giving resources, making different references of what you can do. If you want a referral to any of the people that basically I work with here at the studio, different self-help coaches, rabbis, priests, I know them all. Long story short, whatever I can do to help you guys out. Again, the Problem Solver. Be careful, stay safe, and be good to everyone that you see during the week. See you next week.